What's going on, everyone? It's Horror Master, and I'm back with another video. This time with another CD collection update. This is CD collection update number. Wait, I have to do this the right way. Number 8. Oh man, that was weak. But yeah, the 8 CD collection in my collection, and originally I usually do these like maybe once a month, maybe once every other month and a half, but I just recently came back from my local second in Charles, and well, let's just say that I have gathered a shitload of CDs right now, plus the ones that I bought recently, just to show you how much I've gathered in. I think it's been what, let's say 2 weeks is my latest CD collection update. So here's one stack, and hopefully I can get these without them falling. Here is the other stack of CDs. So yeah, I have gathered a lot of CDs. Like I said, usually these are the ones I just got today, just today along the time of recording, and these are the ones that I have gathered in the past maybe week or so. So we have a total probably close to 20 CDs throughout today. So let's get into it because we got a lot to them. So the first one I have is Carpenter Bird with Letter Terror. This is a more synthwave kind of album, and thanks to my good friend Hannah from the Horseman Podcast, introduced me to these guys, and it's synthwave, which I'm beginning to begin more of a fan of synthwave, and this is such an amazing album. When you have songs like Start of Hell, The Widowmaker, the title track, Imaginary Fire, which is my favorite song from the album, it's kind of a bit of refreshing to be out of the norm from being metal rock and more, I guess, other genres of music that I like synthwave. Now I'm beginning to like more synthwave. So, and this could be a potential album of the year contender. Next up we have High on Fire with De Vermes Mysterious. So if you know how High on Fire works, you know that they're such heavy, like borderline stoner doom, doom metal, whatever you want to call it. They're so heavy, and I mean, it's High on Fire. What more can you expect? But probably my favorite song is between King of the Days. The instrumental themselves is pretty awesome. The closer Warhorns are really amazing track. The guitar riffs are so thick. They're so heavy, and of course, it's High on Fire. Next up, a good old classic rock staple, RO Speedwagon, High Infidelity. I've been a huge RO Speedwagon fan for the longest time, and this is probably my favorite album from theirs. Of course, we have the infamous biggest tracks of the career, Keep on Loving You and Take It on the Run. I mean, one of the best classic rock hits you're ever going to hear on radio. Romantic songs, I want to call it, but Don't Let Him Go is on a good track. Shaking and Loose, I Wish You Were Here, Someone Tonight. If you're a hardcore classic rock fan, you're going to love RO Speedwagon. And if you don't have RO Speedwagon in your collection, get it. I mean, it took me the longest time to finally have it in my collection. I'm so happy I was able to snatch this and finally add it to the collection. Another album, and it's kind of a bit of a weird, it's more of a soundtrack, and lately be getting more into soundtracks because sometimes soundtracks from my favorite movies, I've been wanting to get them in my collection. Like, for example, a couple of episodes ago, I mentioned I have the Crow movie soundtrack. So this time, I got from one of my favorite all-time movies of all time, The Godfather soundtrack. The first Godfather, the first one came out in 1972, and it's The Godfather. What more can I say from that? I mean, if you have not seen The Godfather, what the hell are you doing? Go watch the fucking Godfather. I mean, it's one of the greatest movies to ever be created. And of course, once you're at it, watch part 2 and maybe part 3. Even though part 1 and part 2 are one whole story, part 3 is kind of, you can leave or take it, but still a good movie. But of course, it's The Godfather. I have to put it in my collection. The next two albums are two albums that I'll be, if you guys know, my next ranking will be on Death. I will ranking all of Death's albums, so I'm almost completing the Death discography. I'm missing one more album, and I'll be done with that. So the first one that I have here is Human. This is about the time that Chubb began to be more progressive in his instrumentation. When you have a song like Lava Comprehension, the infamous instrumental comma C. What more can you want from that? Suicide Mission, Vacant Planets, even the bonus track God of Thunder, which really shocked me that of all songs that Kiss has done, Death decided to cover God of Thunder. And it works for some weird reason. It fucking works. So if you have yet to listen to that bonus track, it's a good, give it a listen. It's so good. But again, it's human. Anything from Death, it's perfect. And the last Death album that I have is, of course, Individual Thought Patterns. This is probably probably his most angriest album, basically, because if you read the lyrics and read between the lines, you can tell that Chuck had a lot of hate during writing this album, and in his vocals, the way he plays the guitar, it's just so angry. I mean, and of course, when you have fucking Andrew LaRock from Kid Diamond playing some of the songs, or was it on Human? Like, wait, was it in Human? Oh, yeah, it is. Andrew LaRock play on this album. Of course, Chuck was gonna bring his A game even more. We have a song like Jealousy, The Philosopher, In Human Form, the title track, Destiny. There's a reason, like I said, why Death is as probably one of the greatest discographies, perfect discographies. And for that, it's Individual Thought Patterns. So I'm just missing Symbolic. I should get that probably sometime before I do the next rank I'm on that, so stay tuned for that. Now on to the CDs that I actually got today at the time of recording. And originally I wasn't gonna go over budget, but the more I found more stuff, I was like, oh, I mean, I had to get them. Not somebody else was gonna get them. I'm gonna kick myself in the ass for not getting them. So onto it. So we have first. This is our no order. I just like toss them all in and just gonna talk about it a bit more. First of all, we have Immortals, a Diabolical, Full Moon, Mysticism. Again, I am shocked that something like this was on the shelf and nobody picked it up. And good thing I picked it up because it's immortal. You know, it's immortal. What more can you say about immortal? But when you have songs like The Color of the Winter Sam, Blacker Than Darkness. I mean, if you're in a black metal mood and want something that kind of gives you chills to your body, go to your coldest corner in the room, put this album on full volume, and just let it be. And I'm so happy that I got this album. And also the fact I love that it's with the original Immortal band logo. So it's kind of cool that they actually had this with the original band logo. Next up, it's two Dream Theater albums. I was hoping that they had more Dream Theater albums, but unfortunately they didn't. But, these two are good exceptions. The first one that I have is Train of Thought. This was probably one of the few albums the full-length albums that I started listening to Dream Theater when I first was getting into Dream Theater. Of course, S.I.M., the infamous song that starts the album. Great, great, great song. The Name of God's a good track. Vacant, another good track. The Dying Soul. One of the most underrated Dream Theater albums, in my opinion. It's so underrated. Then again, Dream Theater, sure, they may have some hit and misses, but they're not as bad as something like maybe Diablos Musica or El Wilden Zane Sanas or, for fuck's sake, Catharsis or Graveyard Classics Volume 2. But you get the idea, but it's still an amazing album. It's Dream Theater. I mean, for the price that I got, which was for like $3, it was a good price for this great album. And the other Dream Theater album that I got on my collection is Awake. A bit more noticeable than Train of Tragedy. When you have songs like 6 either PM or AM, Caught on a Web, Space Divest, Scared, Lie, Voices, A Silent Man. Again, more notoriety than the previous album that I mentioned, but it still fucking kicks ass. And again, John Petrucci, What more can I say? I mean, he's a fucking octopus when it comes to guitar because he could be literally playing a regular riff like this and just goes. So I don't know how the fucking man does it. I'm afraid one of these days his fucking fingers are gonna fall off and he'll be fingerless, but he'll find a fucking way to play the guitar. But again, Awake by Dream Theater. If you have not yet checked out Dream Theater, listen to any Dream Theater album. It's worth your money's worth. Next up is Steelheart with the self-titled Steelheart. I've been looking for this album for the longest time, and I could have easily gone on Amazon and bought it, but it always like zip went off my mind because there's other stuff I want to get, and I was almost leaving, and then I was like, let me just check this section, and boop, Steelheart was there. Like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm picking this up, and I've been jamming Steelheart for a while. I mean, when you have songs like "Can't Stop Me Loving You," the infamous ballad "She's Gone," my God, Gimme Rock and Roll, Everybody Loves Ellen, I'll Never Let You Go. Again, more not classic rock, but more glam metal ish, but still with a lot of power to it. And funny enough, I actually thought I always check the CDs before I buy them that they're either playable condition or not as much scratch, because if not, I won't buy them. And I was going through that. I always check the liner notes, and I found something written here. I don't know if you guys can see it. You can kind of barely see it, and I thought this was autographed by a band member. And the more I look into it, it's actually not. I'm not gonna mention the names here, but it's somebody's name and somebody. It's a guy and a girl's name with their name and her name, and with the words "always" at the bottom. So I'm guessing this belonged to that certain person who either donated or just sold the album to where I bought it, and either the relationship didn't go that well, or I don't know. So it's kind of cool when you find things like that, kind of has a story behind it. So, you know, whomever must have sold this must have either been like, fuck, why did I do this in the first place? But it's a cool story to mention, like a good conversation piece to, hey, I have this written down on my Steelheart CD, which, you know, it's a good conversation piece. Next up, it's a Vader album, to be honest. I didn't have any Vader until now, and I almost didn't pick this up because I was like, I'm not much too familiar with Vader. I mean, I know who Vader are, but I'm not much too familiar with their work until I showed this to my buddy Levi, Trash99, and he said, fucking take it. Like, take this album because it will be fucking amazing. And I trust in his opinion. And of course, that is Vader's De Profundis. At first, I didn't know it was Vader because usually they don't have the fucking logo. It wasn't until I turned it around from the spine that it said Vader. I was like, holy shit, it's fucking Vader. And by the looks of it, I mean, it's Vader. It's brutal as it is. I'm guessing it's gonna be a brutal ass album to listen to. Let me guys know in the comments if it's a really brutal album to listen to. I mean, knowing Vader probably is, and I might get more Vader eventually in the future because, like I said, I don't have any Vader until this, so more Vader in the future might be a good thing. Next up is actually a bit of a rarity in my opinion, even though I don't think it's worth a lot. It's actually Sepultura's Dream Embryonic Cells, the single. Yeah, who would have thought that they released a single version of the CD? Of course, back then they used to do that, where they used to release either like 6-inch vinyls or a CD sample of what would later become the full length album. And I thought this was the Arise album. I was like, why does it look so different? After doing some research, I found it was actually a single that they released before the album Arise was going to be released. And I was like, I gotta get this because this could be a rarity. And it is, in my opinion, but not really much. But of course, it has 3 songs. It has Dead and Broad Excels. It has the Motorhead cover of Gasmatron and a re-recording of Troops of Doom. So, I'm happy I snatched this single, which is it's my first single I've ever bought. So, it's kind of a bit of a rarity, more or less. I don't know if you want to call it rarity, but it's a cool find to get it in my collection, especially being Sepultura. Next up, whoop, oh shit, oh, see, this is what happens. We have a lot of CDs that keep falling off. Good thing none of them broke, so that's a good thing. Next up, we have Orgy with Candy Ass. So a bit of a backstory. I actually saw Orgy back in 2000. I want to say 2018 with my good buddies of Random Jewels, and it was an amazing show. I actually got to meet the front vocalist. I don't remember his name at the top of my head, but they sing some of the songs, and I've always been, like I said, this is more of a industrial album. It was released in the 90s, of course, with bands like Rammstein and Ministry around that time. But to have the song, of course, the infamous song is I'm forgetting the fucking name of the song. Where the fuck is it? Blue Monday. The cover, of course, it made him instantly famous. I had to snatch it. I mean, it's Orgy's one of those bands that gets a lot of shit for the later stuff. The early stuff is kind of good, and it's a bit album that I listened to it during my kind of discovery of industrial metal. So it's a good album in my opinion. Next two albums, they're both Rush albums, which I'm happy I was able to snatch these Rush albums, because I didn't have any Rush albums. First up is Rush by Rush. Thinking is their subtitle debut. I mean, what more to say? Of course, when you have something like Find a Way, Need Some Love, Take a Friend, Working Man, Before and After, so on and so forth. I mean, it's fucking Rush. And anything from Rush is worth your money, worth your buck's worth. So, listen to this album. And the other Rush album that I got is, of course, their most infamous album, probably their most influential album in terms of progressive rock, metal back in the 70s, 2112. Can't believe this album is, I think this album is close to 40 years? I think, no, wait, 70, 76, 12, no. Actually, they already passed the 40 years, so maybe 46 years, close to 50 years. So it's amazing. This album has been so influential, not just in progressive metal, but in progressive rock, and so many bands that you can mention. I mean, it's 2112. More can you say about it? And the last album I have here in my collection is another black metal album, and I know my buddy Han, my good friend Han, is going to be happy I finally snatched one of these albums. Wolves of the Throne Room with their album Two Hunters. Now, first I want to say, Arthur, I love you. I know you don't like really Wolves of the Throne Room. I've been kind of getting into Wolves of the Throne Room, and being American black metal, which we rarely don't have a lot of American black metal bands. Of course, Walla being the exception, and maybe some other bands I'm breaking the top of my head. I had to snatch this. It's Wolves of the Throne Room. Again, one of those albums that I'm surprising it was there on the shelf, and I had to snatch it because it's rare when you find something black metal, death metal, thrash metal in my area. So I had to fucking snatch it, and I'm looking forward to digging this album later on sometime in the future, and probably getting more in the Throne in my collection, and we'll see about that. And that does it for this video. I hope you guys really enjoyed my little update. I know it was really quick that I did the update, because like I said, I usually like to do these once a month, maybe twice in a month, depending on what I get. Like I said, stay tuned for that. My next rank a month, I guess, is gonna be on death. And I want to mention this right now. I know Levi mentioned this on his channel. What I mentioned this right now, but for the Horseman podcast on episode 70, we'll be having a special guest. It will be a recorded session this time. It won't be a live episode like we usually do. And we'll have a special guest this time. And I know Levi was really happy, and I was really happy he got this special guest. We'll be interviewing the one, the only, Dan Swano. Can you believe it? We're interviewing Dan Swano, the man, the myth, the legend himself. And I'm really happy and excited and nervous to interview him, because this is the biggest guest that we've had so far in the show. So I'm really excited about it. And so if you have any questions you want to ask, so we can ask Dan Swano, let me know down in the comments, because we're gonna go all out. We're gonna pick his brain, and hopefully we can have a good session with him, and hopefully we can bring him back in the future for more interviews and so on and so forth. And like I said, if you guys have any ideas of what things you want me to do, maybe more rank mods, maybe some other stuff, let me know. I know October's coming up. I'm thinking of doing something around around Halloween time, but we'll have to see. Hope you guys stay safe, and of course, stay metal.